Detective Robert Harris had seen his fair share of gruesome crime scenes in his years on the force, but the one he stepped into that fateful evening was like no other. The room was dimly lit, casting eerie shadows that danced upon the walls. In the center stood a large, ornate mirror, its frame adorned with intricate, curling patterns. Surrounding the mirror were four lifeless bodies, their expressions twisted in fear and agony. The victims had died under mysterious circumstances, and there was no apparent cause of death. It was as if they had been scared to death, and that sent a shiver down Detective Harris's spine. As he examined the scene, he couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding, as though the room itself was tainted by an unseen malevolence. The mirror, in particular, seemed to emanate an unsettling energy, as if it held the secrets of the room's horrors within its reflective surface. The victims had no apparent connections to one another, and their deaths had occurred at different times and locations. But there was one common thread: each of them had recently come into possession of an antique mirror. Detective Harris couldn't ignore the chilling possibility that the mirror held the key to the mysterious deaths. His investigation led him to the first victim, Emily Jenkins, a young woman who had inherited the mirror from her grandmother. She had been found dead in her apartment, her eyes wide with terror. Emily's friends and family spoke of how she had become obsessed with the mirror in the days leading up to her death, spending hours gazing into its depths. Harris decided to have the mirror examined by experts, hoping to find some clue as to its connection to the deaths. He enlisted the help of Dr. Margaret Winters, a renowned paranormal investigator with a deep knowledge of cursed objects. Dr. Winters arrived at the police station, her demeanor serious and her eyes filled with a sense of foreboding. She examined the mirror carefully, running her fingers over its frame and peering into its glass. After a tense silence, she turned to Detective Harris. "This mirror," she began, her voice low and grave, "is no ordinary object. It carries a malevolent energy, a curse that can manifest the darkest fears and nightmares of those who gaze into it. It feeds on their terror, their anxiety, and eventually, it consumes them." Harris's heart sank. The idea of a cursed mirror seemed like something out of a horror story, but the evidence before him was undeniable. He asked Dr. Winters to delve deeper into the mirror's history, hoping to uncover the origins of its curse and a way to break it. As Dr. Winters delved into her research, she discovered that the mirror had a dark and sordid past. It had once belonged to a wealthy family in the 19th century, the Harrows, who were known for their obsession with the occult. Legend had it that they had used the mirror for sinister rituals, summoning dark entities from the other side. The Harrows' malevolent practices had drawn the attention of the local townsfolk, who believed that the mirror held the power to bring forth the nightmares of the living. In a desperate attempt to rid themselves of the cursed object, the townspeople had hidden it away, sealing it in an abandoned underground chamber. Over the years, the Harrow family had faded into obscurity, and the mirror had become nothing more than a chilling legend. But somehow, it had resurfaced, passing from one unwitting owner to another, leaving a trail of death and despair in its wake. Detective Harris knew that to put an end to the curse, he had to locate the underground chamber and destroy the mirror once and for all. Armed with Dr. Winters' research and a sense of grim determination, he embarked on a perilous journey into the heart of the mystery. His search led him to the small, long-forgotten town where the Harrow family had once lived. The town had fallen into disrepair, its streets empty and its buildings crumbling. The townsfolk, descendants of those who had hidden the mirror, were reluctant to speak of the cursed object. their faces filled with fear and superstition. After weeks of painstaking research, Detective Harris finally discovered the location of the underground chamber. It was hidden beneath the ruins of the old Harrow Mansion, a place rumored to be haunted by the malevolent spirits summoned by the family's dark rituals. With a team of investigators, Harris descended into the depths of the underground chamber, the air thick with an oppressive energy. The walls were lined with ancient symbols and runes, and at the center of the chamber stood the cursed mirror, its frame tarnished and its glass cracked. As Harris approached the mirror, he felt a wave of dread wash over him. He could sense the malevolence that emanated from it, a malevolence that had claimed the lives of so many. He raised a sledgehammer and prepared to strike the mirror with all his might. But before he could deliver the final blow, a chilling voice echoed through the chamber. "You cannot destroy me, Detective Harris. I am eternal." Harris turned to see a figure materialize before him, a shadowy, grotesque form that seemed to emerge from the very depths of the mirror. It reached out with twisted, elongated fingers, its eyes filled with a hunger for terror. With a surge of determination, Harris swung the sledgehammer, shattering the mirror into 1,000 pieces. The chamber was filled with an otherworldly scream, and the malevolent energy that had plagued the town for generations dissipated like smoke. As the dust settled, Detective Harris knew that the curse had finally been broken. The mirror's sinister plot, born of centuries-old rituals and dark desires, had come to an end, but the memories of the horrors it had wrought would forever haunt him, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of reality, there are forces beyond our comprehension, waiting to consume us in the depths of our own fears.